He only exercises. You need to strengthen every knee muscle, 50 plus. Don't wait until it hurts. Here is a pattern I have watched repeat itself more times than I can count over the years. Someone comes to see me, usually somewhere in their 50s or 60s, and they describe the exact same story. The knee was fine. Then one day, it was not. They went up the stairs the way they had 10,000 times before, and something caught, or twisted, or simply gave way in a manner that felt entirely unfamiliar. They tell me, almost without exception, I did not do anything unusual, and they are telling the truth. They did not do anything unusual. That is precisely the point I want to make today. The knee did not fail because of one dramatic moment. It failed because of years of quiet erosion in the muscles surrounding it, erosion that produced no symptoms at all until the day it finally did. I am Dr. John, and today I am going to walk you through every single muscle group that supports and protects your knee joint, why each one matters specifically, and the complete set of exercises that strengthens all of them. This is not a list of random knee exercises pulled together loosely. This is a structured, comprehensive approach built around the actual anatomy of the joint, designed specifically for people over 50 who want to protect their knees before pain forces the issue, rather than scrambling to recover after it already has. Let me start by explaining something that almost nobody takes the time to properly understand. Your knee joint itself is remarkably simple in its basic structure. It is essentially a hinge connecting your thigh bone to your shin bone, cushioned by cartilage and stabilized by ligaments. But the knee has no muscles of its own that originate and insert entirely within the joint to actively control its movement. Every single muscle responsible for protecting, stabilizing, and powering your knee originates somewhere else, in your thigh, your hip, or your lower leg, and crosses the knee joint to do its work. This single fact explains why knee pain so often has surprisingly little to do with the knee itself and everything to do with the strength or weakness of the muscles surrounding it. A knee joint with strong, well-balanced support from every direction handles daily stress beautifully for decades. A knee joint where even one or two of these supporting muscle groups has quietly weakened becomes vulnerable, regardless of how structurally sound the joint itself remains. So, let me walk you through every muscle group involved and the specific exercise that targets each one. The quadriceps, the muscle group at the front of your thigh. Your quadriceps are actually 4 distinct muscles running along the front of your thigh, and they are arguably the single most important muscle group for knee protection because they directly control the extension of your knee and absorb an enormous amount of impact every time you walk, climb stairs, or simply rise from a seated position. When the quadriceps weaken, which happens progressively and silently with age unless deliberately counteracted, the kneecap itself loses proper tracking and support. This often produces the specific kind of knee pain people describe as occurring most noticeably on stairs, particularly going downstairs, because descending stairs places the greatest demand on quadriceps strength to control your body's controlled lowering against gravity. The exercise, the seated leg extension. Sit in a sturdy chair with your back straight and your feet flat on the floor. Slowly extend one leg straight out in front of you until it is fully straight. Hold that extended position for 2 to 3 seconds. Then lower it back down slowly with control. Complete 12 to 15 repetitions on one leg before switching to the other. What to focus on? The slow, controlled lowering phase matters just as much as the lifting phase, if not more. Many people rush the lowering portion, which means they miss out on a significant portion of the strengthening benefit. Control the descent just as deliberately as the lift. As this becomes easier over time, you can add a light ankle weight to increase the resistance, or progress to standing quad sets, and eventually to bodyweight squats, which we will cover shortly as a complementary movement. The hamstrings, the muscle group at the back of your thigh. The hamstrings work in direct partnership with the quadriceps, and this partnership matters enormously for knee health specifically. Where the quadriceps extend the knee, the hamstrings flex it and also help control and decelerate the lower leg during walking and running motions. When hamstrings are significantly weaker relative to the quadriceps, an imbalance that becomes increasingly common with age because most casual daily movement favors quad activation over hamstring activation, the knee joint experiences uneven pulling forces from the front and back, which over years contributes to instability and increased injury risk. The exercise. The standing hamstring curl. Stand behind a sturdy chair, holding the back of it lightly for balance. Bend one knee, bringing your heel up toward your buttocks behind you, keeping your thigh stationary and allowing only the lower leg to move. Hold briefly at the top of the movement, then lower slowly back to the starting position. Complete 12 to 15 repetitions on one leg before switching. What to focus on. Keep your upper leg, your thigh, completely still throughout the movement. The motion should come entirely from bending at the knee joint itself, not from swinging your whole leg or leaning your torso to generate momentum. The hip abductors and adductors, the muscles on the outer and inner thigh. This is the muscle group most people have genuinely never heard discussed in the context of knee health, and yet it is critically important. The hip abductors, located on the outer side of your hip and thigh, and the hip adductors on the inner thigh work together to control the sideways stability of your leg, particularly during single leg activities like walking, where your full body weight briefly rests on one leg with every single step you take. When these hip stabilizing muscles weaken, your knee compensates by absorbing rotational and sideways forces it was never designed to handle on its own. This is one of the most commonly overlooked contributors to knee pain in adults over 50, precisely because the pain shows up at the knee while the actual weakness originates at the hip, several inches away from where the discomfort is felt. The exercise. The side-lying leg raise, addressing the hip abductors. Lie on your side on a bed or mat, with your bottom leg slightly bent for stability and your top leg straight. Slowly raise your top leg upward, keeping it straight to about hip height or slightly above, then lower it back down with control. Complete 12 to 15 repetitions on one side, then switch to lie on your other side and repeat. A complementary exercise. The standing inner thigh squeeze, addressing the hip adductors. Stand holding onto a chair or counter for support. Place a small pillow or rolled towel between your knees. Squeeze your knees together against the pillow, holding the contraction for 3 to 5 seconds, then release. Complete 12 to 15 repetitions. What to focus on with both of these movements. Keep the motion slow and controlled rather than swinging, momentum-driven repetitions, which is a particularly common mistake with the side-lying leg raise specifically. The benefit comes from the controlled muscular effort, not from how high or fast you can move the leg. The calves, the muscles of your lower leg, behind your shin. The calf muscles might seem disconnected from knee health at first glance, since they primarily act on the ankle joint rather than the knee directly. But the calves play a genuinely important supporting role in knee stability because they help absorb impact forces during walking and running before those forces ever reach the knee joint above. Weak calves mean more of the impact from every single step transfers directly upward into the knee rather than being appropriately absorbed lower in the leg where it belongs. The exercise, the standing calf raise. Stand with your feet hip-width apart, holding a wall or sturdy chair for balance if needed. Slowly rise up onto the balls of your feet, lifting your heels as high as comfortable. Hold for 1 to 2 seconds, then lower back down slowly with control. Complete 15 to 20 repetitions. What to focus on. Rise and lower with deliberate control throughout the entire range of motion, rather than bouncing quickly. As this becomes easier, you can progress to performing the movement on one leg at a time for an added balance and strength challenge. The core and lower back. The often overlooked foundation supporting everything below. I want to address something that surprises most people when I bring it up specifically in the context of knee health. Your core, the muscles of your abdomen and lower back, plays a meaningfully important role in protecting your knees, even though the connection is not anatomically obvious at first. Here is why this matters. When your core is weak, your overall posture and the way your body distributes weight during walking and standing shifts in ways that place additional, uneven stress on your knees and hips to compensate for the lack of central stability. A strong core helps distribute the forces of daily movement more evenly across your entire body, reducing the disproportionate burden that otherwise falls on your knee joints specifically. The exercise, the modified plank or bridge. For the bridge specifically, lie on your back with your knees bent and feet flat on the floor, hip-width apart. Press through your feet and lift your hips upward off the floor until your body forms a relatively straight line from your shoulders to your knees. Hold this position for 5 to 10 seconds, then lower back down slowly. Complete 10 to 12 repetitions. What to focus on? Engage your abdominal muscles throughout the movement rather than relying solely on your lower back to generate the lift. If the standard bridge feels too challenging initially, you can perform a smaller range of motion, lifting your hips only partially off the floor and build up gradually from there. Now let me bring all 5 of these targeted exercises together into one complete, comprehensive knee protection routine. You will perform the seated leg extension for the quadriceps, the standing hamstring curl for the hamstrings, the side-lying leg raise, and standing inner thigh squeeze together for the hip abductors and adductors, the standing calf raise for the calves, and the bridge for your core. Complete one full round of all 5 exercises with their specified repetitions, rest for 30 to 60 seconds, and then repeat the entire circuit a second time if your current fitness level comfortably allows it. This complete routine takes somewhere between 15 and 20 minutes to perform, and it directly and comprehensively addresses every single muscle group that supports and protects your knee joint, rather than leaving any one critical area neglected while you focus disproportionately on another. Let me explain why this comprehensive approach matters so much more than the narrower advice most people receive. When someone develops knee pain and seeks help, the typical advice they receive often focuses exclusively on quadriceps strengthening, since that connection to knee health is the most widely known and most commonly discussed. While quadriceps strength is genuinely important, and I included it as the very first exercise in this routine for good reason, addressing only the quadriceps while ignoring the hamstrings, the hip stabilizers, the calves, and the core leaves your knee joint protected from only one specific direction of stress while remaining vulnerable from several others. This is precisely why some people diligently strengthen their quadriceps and still experience ongoing knee discomfort. The muscle imbalance was never actually corrected. It simply shifted from one specific deficiency to a different one. True comprehensive knee protection requires addressing every muscle group that crosses or supports the joint, which is exactly what this 5-exercise routine is specifically designed to accomplish. Now let me give you an honest, realistic picture of what to expect on a meaningful timeline, because patience and accurate expectations are what actually sustain a strengthening routine long enough to produce real results. In the first 2 to 3 weeks of consistent practice, most people notice the exercises themselves becoming progressively easier to perform, requiring less conscious effort and producing less immediate fatigue. This reflects early neuromuscular adaptation, meaning your nervous system is becoming more efficient at recruiting and coordinating these muscle groups, even before significant new muscle tissue has actually developed. Between 4 and 8 weeks of consistent practice, genuine strength gains become measurable and noticeable in daily activities. Stairs feel less effortful. Standing up from low chairs or from the floor requires less conscious bracing and preparation. Any existing mild knee discomfort during these activities frequently begins to ease, as the muscular support around the joint genuinely improves and takes on more of the mechanical load that the joint itself was previously absorbing on its own. Beyond 8 weeks, with continued consistent practice 3 to 4 times weekly, the strength and stability gains become a durable, established feature of how your knee functions day to day, rather than something requiring active, ongoing attention to maintain. At this stage, many people choose to progressively increase resistance through ankle weights, resistance bands, or progressing towards standing bodyweight movements like squats and lunges that combine several of these muscle groups simultaneously in a single integrated movement. A few important safety notes before you begin. If you currently have significant existing knee pain, a recent injury, or have been diagnosed with a specific knee condition such as significant arthritis, a meniscus tear, or ligament damage, please consult with your physician or a physical therapist before beginning this routine. Some of these exercises may need specific modification for your individual situation, and professional guidance ensures you are strengthening in a way that supports rather than aggravates an existing condition. Always perform these exercises near a wall, sturdy chair, or counter for balance support, particularly the standing exercises in this routine. Never push through sharp or genuinely painful sensations during any exercise. Mild muscular fatigue or a gentle working sensation is expected and normal. Sharp, joint-specific pain is not and is a signal to stop that particular movement and reassess, possibly with professional guidance. Progress gradually rather than attempting to do too much too quickly in your enthusiasm to see results. Consistency over months produces dramatically better outcomes than intensity attempted for a few sessions before burnout or injury interrupts the entire effort. Here is the single most important idea I want you to walk away with today. Knee pain after 50 is rarely a sudden, unpredictable event, despite how it often feels in the moment it actually occurs. It is, in the overwhelming majority of cases, the eventual cumulative result of years of gradually weakening support in the muscle groups surrounding an otherwise healthy joint. The good news embedded in that fact is genuinely significant. Because this is a gradual process driven by disuse, it is also a process that responds predictably and reliably to deliberate, consistent strengthening at virtually any age and at virtually any starting point of current strength. You do not need to wait until your knee hurts to begin addressing this. In fact, waiting until it hurts means you are already addressing the problem from a position of disadvantage, working to recover lost ground rather than simply maintaining ground you never lost in the first place. 5 exercises, every major muscle group supporting your knee, 15 to 20 minutes, several times a week. This is Dr. John. Protect the joint before it asks you to. I will see you in the next one.